Welcome to the Stocks Campus, guys. This video is geared specifically towards people who have absolutely no clue about the markets. It's geared such that you can be brought up to speed at the fastest pace possible. I am making it simply because there was a lot of demand within the Stocks Campus where many new students would come in and would feel a bit lost. So I decided to put it all in one video, like a rapid fire answering of all kinds of questions that the beginners might have. And there will be a lot of information. So if you ever feel lost or if you feel like you're missing some of the basics, just come back to this video and get an idea. Even some of the members who have been with us for a while but still are confused about some basic questions can benefit from this video. So definitely do not hesitate to go through it, even if it's on like twice the speed. So I will begin from the very basics on what markets are. Then I will talk about the charting, time frames, indicators, all that stuff, and then something about the brokers. And I think that would cover all the basic questions that we get. So let's start with what are markets? Well, markets technically are just a place where people meet up or gather together in order to exchange goods and services. That's what a market is. You have someone who has something to offer and then another person who wants that, and they come together in order to exchange goods or services. For the longest time, people had to meet at one place in order to take advantage of these markets. So you would have, let's say, a farmer in somewhere in the Midwest of USA and an industrialist who probably residing in New York. They would come together in the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and exchange and make a trade for the stuff that the farmer is growing, right? Like you would have to physically be at a place in order to trade. Now, internet has changed that. With the internet, we can trade from anywhere, from our houses, literally, because we are connected to the exchange through the internet. What kind of markets are there? There are multiple kinds of markets. You have stocks. If you don't know what stocks are, let me define it really quick. Most of the companies that you see around the world, they started out as a private company. It was one person or two people or a family building a company higher. At some point, either they need to grow faster or they need capital in one way or the other. And they decide to sell a part of the company to public. That part that they would sell to the public in the public market, they would call shares. That's a share of the company. And the other name that's been given to that is stocks. So when you're literally buying stocks of a company, you're buying a part of the company. You are an owner of that company. That's what stocks are. Bonds are giving money to the governments in order to loaning money to the government in order to get some interest back and hopefully your principal at the end of the bond. You have currency markets where you exchange one currency for another. You have commodity markets where you exchange metals, agricultural stuff. You have animal products, so those kind of things. Those are the commodity markets. I might have missed one or two markets, but this is the essence of most of the markets that are traded around the world. Now, these are the different markets, and you can have markets for contracts that are built on these. Those are called options and futures. We'll discuss them in the future. All right, now that we know what kind of markets are there, how do we go and figure out what's going on in an individual market? We do that by looking at the price of the product in that market on a charting software. Now, there are many charting softwares on the internet. My personal favorite is TradingView. It's clean, it has everything you need, and it's one of the best products out there. So if you don't know what I'm talking about or what a chart is, well, just go to TradingView.com. I have it on the screen right here. I'm going to guide you through everything so you have an idea of what's going on. So you go to TradingView.com, you go to products, it shows chart plus. So we go look at a chart. Now this is the first time I'm on incognito, so I can have the same experience as a guy who's opening TradingView for the first time will. And this is why I am getting the chart like this. So there's a lot going on here. I'm going to uncover this for you. First, we have the y-axis, which shows the price of this company, Apple. Now, since all of you are familiar with Apple, that's why TradingView has that as the first stock. So the stock is Apple, and on the y-axis we have the price of the stock of Apple. On the x-axis we have the time. Right? In October the price of Apple was around 140. In December the price of Apple is around 134.51. That's what it's saying. I'm going to remove this for now. So for now the chart is very clear. We have the y-axis for the price and the x-axis for the time. Let's uncover what's going on here. Here we have a simple watch list which talks about the major indices and some of the famous stocks, futures, currencies and crypto. You can design your own watch list. We'll discuss all of that later, but I'm just describing what we see when we first enter TradingView. Now you might be wondering what this chart is, right? Like what are these lines on the chart that describe the price? So let's delve into that. Each one of these is called a candlestick. So each one of these lines that you see, a red or a green one, is a candlestick. And since we are on the daily time frame, each candlestick represents the price action of one day. For example, the candlestick I am on right now is Wednesday, November 9th, 2022. So it represents the price action we saw on that day. The way you can change the time frame is by going and clicking on this right here, the D, and you can change the time frame to 1 week, 1 month, 1 hour, whatever you like. What that will do is change the chart such that each candlestick shows the price action of the time frame you're looking for. So now I'm on 1 hour chart. Each candlestick shows the action on the 1 hour time frame. Alright, let's go back to the daily chart. Let me explain what a candlestick is. So I already mentioned the candlestick here on the daily chart is showing you the price action of one day. How do you read that price action? Well, it shows 4 things. Where the price opened on that day, where the price closed on that day, what's the high of that day, and what was the lowest price traded on that day. So let's continue with this example. Let me choose a different candlestick which has all 4 of these. Alright, this one is very clean. So let's look at Wednesday, November 30, 2022. On this day, price opened at 141.40. To know those exact numbers, you can always look up here. O is the open, H is the high, L is the low, C is the close. So it opened at 141.40, which is right here at the bottom where the solid body of the candlestick starts. It closed at 148.03, which is where the solid body of the candle stops. Because price rose that day, the candlestick is green. Since the open is less than the close, the candlestick is green. The high of that day is 148.72. That's the extension you see from the solid body of the candle. You have the solid body of the candle and you have these smaller lines that are called wicks. The extension goes to the high of the day, which was 148.72. And the extension lower goes to the low of the day, which was 140.55. So the edge of this candlestick, right? Wicks plus body included. That's the range of the high and the low of the day. The solid part of the candlestick, the solid body, the thicker part, that defines the difference between the open and close. I hope that clarifies it. I'm going to, the reason, as I said, the reason I did incognito was so that I get an experience of how a new member would, but looks like they're asking me to join for free. Anyways, I'm gonna go to a regular TradingView account then. Now that you have an idea of how a new member would see it, I'm going to see how I have my chart set up. Alright, I have a lot going on. I'm going to make this chart just as clean as the other one. Give me 1 second. Let's go back to Apple. All right. Let's go back to the daily time frame. I will in this video show you how to make these lines, what these are, boxes, everything. So if you're completely new, don't worry. The only reason I moved back to this is because TradingView for new people wants you to join. Alright, so we were discussing the candle in November, we were discussing this candle, and we explained what the open, close, and how those things work. Let's look at an example of a red candle so we can clarify this. Alright, let's look at this one. So this one, it opened at 148.95. and it closed at 145.03. Since the close and the low of the day, right, 145.03 and 145 are very, very near, you won't really see a wick, much of a wick on the lower side. So you have the open at 148.95 and close at 145.03. Since the close is below the open, the candlestick is red. Now the high of the day was 152.17. Now that's quite a difference from where the price opened. That's why you have a higher wick on the upper side, but nothing on the lower side. So now I think it should be clear what the wick on a candlestick is versus the solid body and what really a candlestick is. I think that should clarify it all. Now you have different kind of candlesticks and they do give some information on what to expect for price next, especially when they are at important levels. I will discuss that in a future video. I'm getting ahead of myself for now. But just remember that there is a lot of study that has been done on the patterns that these candlesticks make. We already discussed the time frames. Now let's discuss indicators. So far what we have on this chart is simply price and the time on the x-axis. So that's all we have, and for many traders that's all you need. All you really need is the price action and the time frame in which it is happening. But there are many traders who use tools to help them understand the price action, and those are called indicators. There are extra tools and there are many kinds of them. You just have to figure out which one is more useful for you. Ideally, I would not recommend using more than 3 or 4 indicators on your chart, because otherwise it complicates the chart very much. But I will show you how to put indicators on the chart for now, and you have to decide which ones you would like. So for that, you just go to the indicators right here. You have all kinds of scripts that are in the TradingView community. I will discuss how these scripts are written as well. So let's use a simple indicator called moving average. This is something I use very commonly, so I'm starting out with that. I use simple moving averages. You can also use exponential moving averages. I know many of the new students ask a question how to put indicators on my charts. This is the reason I'm doing this video. So I will do a simple moving average. and I will go adjust the settings of it. So you see, before adding this indicator, I had simply the price action. Now I have a line showing the average price of a set period of time before. So right now in the settings, my length is 9. So what this line is showing is the average of the price for the 9 candles before. On the daily chart, so 9 days of action shows the average price there. You can change those settings. I use 9 and 50. So what I would do is I would add another moving average and change the length to 50. So let me do that right now so you guys see how to set up my chart like that. Alright, back to moving average. We change the color and the setting of this one. So we go to 50, and I will change the style as well. So I would rather have it a different color. Let's say yellow, a bit thicker, and voila. So the 50-day moving average, it's the average price of the action of the last 50 days. If you change the time frame, the moving average price would change, because then it would be talking about the average of the action of the last 50 candles. So if you're on the hourly time frame, this line shows the average price of the last 50 hours of action. This one, the blue one, would show the average price of the last 9 hours of action. So based on the time frame, your moving average would be different. I hope that makes sense. Alright, so those are the two most commonly used indicators by me. The other ones that I use is this one. Squeeze Pro indicator by Market Zero. I have changed these settings to be, these colors to be different. And that's a personal choice. You don't have to change them to be different. Alright. So that's a personal choice by me. Let me see. I have this one as blue. I have this one as black. Red. Yellow. Okay, I changed these settings simply because I have difficulty differentiating between blue and green colors. So I changed that for my personal needs. But you can change based on your needs. And if you don't know what this indicator is all about, because I'm not going to explain Squeeze Pro right now, I have a tutorial video on it that comes later in the course, simply because I use this indicator quite a bit. In that tutorial video, you will also have the right color combination that I use. Anyways, so now you guys know how to add indicators and what indicators are. And let's look at some drawing tools, because I use those quite a bit in the charts as well. So when you go to the left in this section, Trendline Tools, you will find many ways to draw lines on the chart. That helps you draw trend lines, horizontal lines, all kinds of things. So let me start with, I'm going to remove the moving averages for now, but I hope you get the idea. Let's start with a trend line. What is a trend line? A trend line is a directional line up or down that shows a moving trend. The way it does that is by connecting the bottom, the lows of the trend. So for example, if you look at this trend line, you see we connect the different bottoms, and it shows that the price is going higher high and higher low. So we connected the lows and we defined the trend. Once that trend broke, based on the trend line breaking, we went back, almost retested the trend line, and then just dropped. But once we broke below this trend line, it was clear that the trend has broken. So this is how trend lines are used. You can draw it. Let me show you how I drew it. I drew it by going here, selecting trend line, clicking first on one low, then clicking again on another low, making sure that the line connects the different lows. And once I did that, voila, I had it. So play around with it, experiment with it, and you will have an idea. Let me draw another one. Let's connect the tops this time because we are trending down. So you can see that this line defined where the price would create the highs, the lower highs. So price came down, bounced, got rejected at this trend line. Bounced, got rejected again. Rejected, rejected, and so on. Once we broke above this trend line is the only time we started moving higher. So trend lines are used quite a bit in technical analysis, and they will be an important tool for you on the charts. The other lines that are quite important are horizontal lines. I think the name says it all what a horizontal line is. If you want to define an important price level where price has always shown some form of reaction, then you use a horizontal line. I already have many of these drawn out in this chart, but let me add another one so I can show it as an example. Alright, I'm going to give it a different color so it's clear on what I added. Let's do it red and make it thick or dotted one. Alright, so this is the line I added. So let's look why it's important. You can see that this line is where price rejected here, got supported here, came back, got rejected here. When I say rejected, it means it came higher and then went back lower. When I say supported, it means price came lower into this level and then this level acted as a support where price bounced back up. So I hope those terms are clear. So you can see this level has acted as a support and a resistance a bunch of times, and it's an important level. Once price breaks below this level, price goes lower. As long as price stays above it, it can bounce. So that's how horizontal lines are used. We will discuss this concept in a lot of depth in one of the tutorial videos called Zone to Zone Trading. So if you don't get it yet, don't worry about it. I simply wanted to show you how to draw a horizontal line and why it's drawn. Alright, let's look at the other drawing tool that I use quite a bit is this rectangle. I use it to draw consolidations like this one and I call them boxes. So let me draw a smaller one just to show you how the tool works, and you guys should play around with it so you understand how it works. It simply defines price in a rectangular area and I call it a box, and it will be used quite a bit because the system that I teach you here is box system. So that's the other tool, the drawing tool that we use. That's for the most part is it. You can obviously customize TradingView to your own needs. I suggest you play with it so it's an important tool you will use in your entire trading journey. So get familiar with it, use it quite a bit. Some other things you can do is the Pine editor here. The Pine editor is where you can write scripts in Pine language that TradingView uses in order to code up different indicators, backtest your stuff, things like that. So you can use Pine editor. I was messing around with AI yesterday in order to code up a simple strategy. So that's something that you can also look into in the future. Let's say you're not really great at coding or you don't know the Pine language. Well, you can ask AI to plot it for you. So I went into chat.openai.com and let's say I will ask it to code up an indicator for me right now. I just made a random, okay, what's going on? So I simply made up a random strategy and I'm asking AI to code it for me. Let's see how it works out. So right now I can simply tell I don't think this code is in the Pine script for TradingView, but you can always use that. You can, the next one would be, okay, it is a TradingView script, good. Can be backtested using historical data, and now you just have a strategy that you can backtest. So this is something to keep in mind. I'm putting it in the intro video so you guys can look at the possibilities that are out there, especially with AI joining our ranks of humans. I think trading will become a lot more of a fair field with the options available now. But anyways, you can code up your strategy in the editor here. You can use AI to make simple code for you, or make it as complex as you want. You will just simply have to interact with the AI longer. Then you go to the strategy tester, you load up your strategy that you made and you test it out. So lots and lots of options available in TradingView. I simply went with a brief overview for now. Look into it, get familiar with it. It's going to be used in your entire trading journey. So the next thing we will discuss are the brokers. There are many brokers all around the world, and what broker is best for you depends on the location you are in. We have a document in the Start Here channel that lists out all the brokers and the best one for you based on your location, your age, simply your situation. So go through that folder because that's the best resource in order to find the best broker for you. Once you have a broker account, there will be two different options in the kind of account you have. One is a margin account, one is a cash account. A cash account is one where you simply trade with the money you have in your account. A margin account is one where the broker will lend you some money in situations where the broker knows that you're good for the money. So they will lend you some money so you can trade it, and then later the broker will take the money they lend to you. When it comes to margin accounts, there are some restrictions. Again, those restrictions depend on your location, so obviously look into them yourselves. But in the US, there's one big one called the patent day trader restriction. It stops you from making multiple day trades. I think more than 4 day trades within a 5-day span period gets you marked as a patent day trader. And if you get marked a couple times, they will block your account. So the best way to avoid that is simply use a cash account. And that way you will never have to worry about the number of day trades you're taking. I know many of the newbies have confusion about this, so I wanted to go over this and simply remind you that you have the option of a cash account. The last thing I wanted to discuss is what long versus short a trade means. Because again, a question that keeps coming up, and it's simple trading lingo. Long a trade means you buy something in order to sell it at a higher price later. If you short something, it means you borrowed the security or the stock or whatever it is from the broker. You sold it in the market with the expectation that you can buy it back cheaper later in the market, return what you borrowed back to the broker, and take the profits in the middle. Because you're shorting something, you don't really have it yet, right? You're selling something in the market that you don't have, you have to borrow it from the broker. What you're going to do is buy it back cheaper, give the stuff back to the broker, and take the difference. That's what shorting a market is. I think that's it. I think that's it for the basics that I had in mind. I wanted to go over this basic video simply to cover all the things that might feel like you're missing and just get you up to speed as soon as possible. The next track of the trading basics will go into the different types of orders. What that means is the different ways to enter the market. Right? You might want to enter the market right away and at whatever price the market is, or you want to enter the market at a specific price later in the day. You will have two different kinds of orders. So it discusses all the different types of orders that are available to enter the market. You understand the basics of what options are in the next trading basics track. And yeah, I think this video will get you up to speed in order to understand what's going on there. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you more inside the course.